Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Weekly Waypoint. Today we are playing an indie game called Angels Fall First, which is a bit of a poetic title for what is essentially Star Wars Battlefront 3. This is a game that's been in early access for about a decade, and I only heard of it today, and the second I saw it, I picked it up because it looks like my jam. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not like a seasoned Star Wars Battlefront player or anything, but I do enjoy it, and I guess more specifically I enjoy, like, you know, these kinds of games. And so I thought this might be up my alley, and it is. Now, I should mention, this is a infantry-only ground map. This does have, like, great big space battles where you can pilot spaceships and, you know, work the ion cannons on them and run around repairing things and, you know, board other players' ships and jump on them and stuff like that. The reason we're not doing a space battle right now is because I'm really bad at them, and I'm embarrassed, so we're just going to do a pretty standard on-foot infantry fight for now. I'm also playing offline against bots, but there are actually quite a few active online servers right now. It came out of early access not too long ago, but what I really love about this game is the offline with bots thing, because as I've mentioned in previous episodes of A Weekly Waypoint, I love playing these kinds of games offline with bots. It's just so fun. Like, obviously, it's not quite the same feeling as playing online, but it's its own special brand of... I hesitate to say chill, because I am running around killing people and trying to claim objectives and stuff, but it's a good time. It does remind me a little bit of another indie Battlefield / Battlefront-like called Ravenfield. However, that game is literally, unless it's been updated since I last checked, it's literally a single-player only offline with bots kind of a game, whereas this one, like I said, does have a healthy online player base that you can go and play with. Now, I am still getting to grips with the game. I do have a few nitpicks, such as it's not always entirely clear what's going on the screen at any given time. The enemies can sometimes be a little, I wouldn't say difficult to pick out, but it does take like a split second longer than I would like to be like, oh, I'm looking at an enemy as opposed to a teammate. I would also say the shooting is not the best. It's fine, it does the job, it's fun enough, and it is satisfying when you get, you know, sequential hits on people. It does like the modern shooter thing where it gives you the little crosshair, like the pip 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 as you hit people, and you're like, ah, nice, I'm hitting people. But I've definitely played better shooters. All the same, for what it is, if you're looking at this and going, hell yeah, I could go for a Battlefront style game, hell yeah, I want to run around offline with bots and murk a bunch of people, or try my hand online against people who are better at this game than I am, then yeah, you'll probably like this, and it's pretty cheap as well. And it's got a lot of content because it's been in early access for a decade. It's got a lot of maps, it's had a lot of refinement. So yeah, no, maybe give it a look. Once again, the name of the game is Angels Fall First, and I'll have a link to it in the description so long as I haven't forgotten like a silly sausage. But this isn't all I've been playing this week. No, I've been on quite the journey. Well, not really. But basically, I noticed that Palworld 1.0 had come out, and I thought, I've got a lot of these, like, crafting survival games, and I've never really spent all that much time in any of them. So what I'm going to do is re-download Enshrouded and play some Enshrouded, because that's probably my favourite out of all of them so far, at least from what I've played. And you know what's funny? Valheim, Enshrouded, RuneScape, Dragon Wilds, all these games are coming out in the next few months. They're all leaving early access and officially launching soon. So I'm kind of sat there like, man, like, which one do I want to wait until full release for any of them? But I don't really have any, like, alternatives to play that are already in full release, so I said screw it, I'll just play some Enshrouded. And I've been having a wonderful time with Enshrouded. I did decide to pick up where I left off on my save file from last year. I'm only like 5 hours in, or I was only like 5 hours in. Now I'm like 12. And I think Enshrouded is probably the best example I can point to of what I love about what I would call this modern wave of survival games, survival crafting games, because originally, right, this genre was all about trying to be the next Minecraft. It was all about, like, this great big sandbox where you can go anywhere and do anything, and a lot of the space-based ones were just trying to be like the Tech Hit mod or the Galacticraft mod or whatever, and there were some that did things a little differently, sure, but for the most part, Minecraft was kind of the blueprint. Like, they weren't all voxel-based, but they were definitely all kind of like taking their cues from the whole survival thing that Minecraft laid out. Like, how many trees have you punched on tropical islands, in Arctic wastelands, on planets in space, on moons? I don't know what kind of games are out there. But it feels like there's been a shift, and this recent, more modern wave of survival crafting games has gone a bit more towards, like, let's start putting some narrative elements into this. Let's start making this more of an RPG. Valheim's probably the one that did that first. I'm not really an expert in this subgenre, so I couldn't say that with any amount of certainty. But Enshrouded is the one that does it best, in my opinion. Enshrouded really feels like, and I don't know if this is what they're going for, but it really feels like an Elder Scrolls open world. Not in terms of like narrative or narrative tone, but just in terms of like how it feels to explore, and how it feels to like just loot things, be like, oh, I'll have some of that, I'll have some of that, I could use this. Like, I just love a game that gets looting right, and you know, it's got different armor sets and all that good stuff, and obviously that all links back into the survival crafting aspects of the game, but at the same time it's not afraid to be an RPG, and the balance is just so wonderful, and the world is just massive and expansive and huge. Years ago I heard I believe it was Garrett Weinzerl of Grinding Gear, although I think this might have been before Grinding Gear. I think he compared Valheim to World of Warcraft, and I thought that was a little bit weird because those are very different games. But I kind of get it, like, Valheim and Enshrouded, these games do have that element of, like, the way they've injected RPG stuff into these open world survival crafting games, it kind of gives you the same sense of like, wow, I've got this massive world with different zones to go and like explore and conquer, and you know, you can do this in vanilla WoW a little bit better than modern WoW, but like, I'm crafting my way through as well. I'm crafting my own upgrades sometimes, or I'm finding some of them in you know, off of bosses and in chests and stuff. I guess it's the spirit of adventure. The spirit of adventure, I normally go to MMORPGs for that, and I love that this modern wave of survival crafting games is now also kind of embracing that spirit of adventure, perhaps more by doing these handcrafted RPG worlds instead of just these procedurally generated sandbox worlds. And I say that Valheim is also a procedurally generated game, but I feel like the way, I mean, I haven't played enough of it. We'll get into that in a second as well. But I feel like the way Valheim does it is it's like places of interest, right? So I've never actually sunk a huge amount of time into a survival crafting game, and I still haven't. I just told you I'm like 12 hours into Enshrouded, and I've already picked up another one that we'll get into in a second, and got distracted with that one. But what happens, I feel like, is I get to a point in these games where I just have like lots of different things to do, and I just get overwhelmed and I can't settle on anything, or I get lost in the source of I need this, I need that, I gotta go do this, and I'll be halfway over here and then I'll be like, wait, I should go do this, and I'll go over there and do that. Like, the ADHD kicks in, the mind goblins start acting up, and I end up kind of getting nothing done, and as a result the pace kind of grinds to a halt, and it just doesn't feel great, and eventually I get distracted by another game. It's not a problem of any of the games. I guess you could say it's a problem of a genre for people with similar brain configurations to mine, but it's something I want to overcome, because more and more of these games are coming out, and they look so cool. Like, you've got Windrose, which is like a pirate coded one, you know, if you want to sail the high seas and go on a big pirate adventure, but not have it be a game that you need 3 of your friends to be around. I mean, they still can be, but it's also like a single player adventure if you want it to be. Then you've got Windrose, Did I already say the name of the game? I lost my sentence there. Either way, that game looks like it's shaping up pretty well. And then you've got, I learned just the other day about Abiotic Factor, which I believe had its full release last year, so I'm late to this. That almost looks like a kind of survival crafting RPG inspired by Half-Life, which is really cool. I want to play that someday, please. Like, it really is starting to feel like this genre is the future of adventures in gaming. One that I think I am going to wait until release for is RuneScape Dragon Wilds. I played a bit of that when it very first came out in early access last year, and it's since had a pretty, like, hefty amount of content added to it. It's had a really good cadence of updates from what I've seen, and I'm excited to check out the full release. I think it's meant to be October, but there's so many of these releasing soon. It could be September, I don't remember, I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm going to start a brand new save when it comes out in 1.0, or if I'm just going to pick up from where I left off. I actually did go back and rewatch my video. There's a video on this channel from last year that I did for RuneScape Dragon Mods, and just kind of like refresh my memory on it. And yeah, that's definitely a game I want to get back into, because as with all of these games, I never did get very far. Oh, I forgot to mention Grounded. Grounded, and I think there's a Grounded 2 now, right? That's another one of these like narrative, like story-driven RPG style survival crafting games, which I played some of the first one on Game Pass back when I had that, and that was a really cool idea too. And of course you got Palworld, which is the we're totally not ripping off Pokemon, guys, but we gave them guns. It was so wacky. I actually bought that because eventually I was like, I do want to play a one of these that's actually fully released, and I did play a tiny bit of Palworld again back when I had Game Pass, and I did enjoy what I played of it. And so now I shall give you my, I guess, first impressions on Palworld. I haven't spent all that long with it, probably 4 or 5 hours so far. And what I want to lead with is I want to tell you that I really like this game. It's really fun. I'm having a great time. I do plan to keep playing a lot of it. I'm about to talk about some nitpicks and some things I don't like about the game, and I need to explain myself, so I'm going to be spending a lot of time on those negatives. That doesn't mean they're big negatives, it just means that I need to explain them. So the thing with Palworld is, there are some people out there who will tell you it's better than Pokemon, and I kind of vehemently disagree. Like, it completely misses what makes Pokemon magic by trying to be more... Edgy's not the right term. It's definitely a lot more utilitarian. Like, for those of you who don't know, Palworld is like one of these survival crafting games, but a lot of the automation is done by having like your pals kind of work on things back at the base and stuff. And also, if you've ever played like Pokemon Legends Arceus, the combat is a lot like that as well. It's, well, I guess actually it's more like Legends Arceus, fucking Legends EA, because it's real time, although it's also not like that. This is, I'm doing a terrible job of this. Either way, the combat's probably the weakest part in my opinion. You have your pal with you, and you have your own kind of like melee weapons, and I'm sure you get like, you know, ranged weapons and guns and stuff later, but you attack the enemy and your pal then attacks the enemy, and when they're weakened you throw out your pal ball or whatever it's called, and then the weaker they are, the better a chance you have of capturing them. That's kind of imperfect because at the minute, at least for me, the balancing's weird where I will attack a pal and I will be doing a little bit of damage to it, and then my pal will just destroy it before I get a chance to throw a ball at it, which is kind of strange. But yeah, I find that the pals themselves, I don't hate the designs of them, by the way. Of course they are very aesthetically similar to Pokemon. There is no getting around that. Anyone who tells you otherwise is delusional. But I do like them all the same. Like, I'm down for Fakeamon, that's fine. I play like these indie Pokemon style games, I'm used to this. But I find myself not growing attached to any of them, just because in the open world gameplay there's no real moment where you stop and get up close with them, like, because it's all like real time you know, combat, and when you do enter combat there's no like change of camera motion or anything like that. It just happens to be happening around you. You know what it's like? It's like in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, those really shitty auto battles you can do, which I always avoided. It's basically that. And then the other reason is just the tone of the game, like I've said, is so utilitarian. You will have them working back at your base, and they have like a sanity meter which drops if you don't treat them well enough, and it just feels like you're running a labor camp, and it can feel a bit icky if I'm being honest, especially since you can also capture humans in power balls and force them to work for you as well. That's definitely a little weird. And the game seems to revel in its like, whoa, we're not Pokemon. Pokemon wouldn't let you do this. And like, I've got an example, right? It's a small thing. Don't get me wrong. What I'm about to tell you is a very small thing, but it's a matter of tone. Sometimes when you fail to capture a pal, it'll be like, "Ah, the little bastard," and it's just that phrasing is like, it's not like a friend you're trying to tame like in Pokemon, right? It's like a tool you're trying to get the use of, and while that's not something that inherently leaves me feeling gross or like takes away from the experience on like a conscious level, I do think that overall what it adds up to is an experience that is less than any Pokemon game. People might disagree, I don't know, but I do feel like Palworld has missed a step there just a little bit in, you know, like we've got Pokopia recently, right? And that's almost similar, like it's very different. It's Dragon Quest Builders free, it's not it's not Palworld. But at the same time, it's a survival crafting game where you make friends with Pokemon and you sometimes you set them to work on things. You get them to chop some logs and stuff. There are similarities here, but Pokopia, it still feels like the Pokemon are your friends because you're chatting to them and they have personalities and they talk about wanting to help you out and stuff, and there's none of this like, the little bastard kind of like that tongue-in-cheek almost satire, like, I don't know, it's still got the innocent magical charm, and I think that is something people shouldn't be afraid to strive for. You shouldn't be ashamed of, I'm not saying Palworld necessarily is, but you shouldn't be ashamed of wanting to create that kind of magic in your world, and I think Palworld is missing that. But like I said, that's a lot of words for something that isn't actually ruining the game for me. It's just something that I've noticed and something I needed to get off my chest. Hopefully that makes sense. To some people it probably comes off as like a Pokemon fanboy being overly precious about the idea of someone else trying to do the Pokemon thing and giving them guns or whatever. I'm really not. Like I said, I like playing different indie games which try and do their own kind of takes on Pokemon. It's just how it's come off on me is all. Other than that, it's a fine survival crafting game. Again, I like having this big handcrafted world to go and explore. The narrative is a little light, I will say. I would like there to be a bit more story. It feels like the early access version of a game. It feels like the story hasn't been implemented yet. I've just turned up and a guy has gone, yep, we call this place Paltopia or whatever. Go catch some pals. Alright, dude. 2 big thumbs up. I'll get to it. But the game itself, it does seem like there's a pretty deep system in terms of like the different pals not only have different stats like you would expect for fighting, but also like some of them are better at doing work. Like, it still feels weird to talk about. Some of them are more efficient at gathering wood. Some of them are worse. Some of them are lazy. Some of them have their sanity drain faster than others if they are put to work for too long without a break. Oh god, what am I doing to these creatures? But it's fun to expand my base, and you know, while I'm not crazy about the designs, it is fun to be like, oh, here's a new little guy. And yeah, I don't know if they evolve. I haven't gotten to a point where they've evolved yet. I imagine they probably do, but maybe they don't. It's funny, if Pokopia didn't exist, I could very much see myself being like, Nintendo should do this with Pokemon. But yeah, we got Pokopia, and I think I'll ultimately still prefer Pokopia. But they are 2 very different games that do very different things, and I'm glad we've got both. By the way, I've also been playing a bunch of Gran Turismo 2. And if I hadn't come across this game today, Gran Turismo 2 would have been the game on the box. It would have been what we're playing today. And yeah, don't worry, we will get back to racing games. I seem to be playing racing games almost more than anything else on the Weekly Waypoint in recent years, and I guess I'm okay with that. Fun fact, for the first year of this series, it was actually called the Weekly Deathmatch, and then I renamed it so I could do more things like racing games. God, that was a long time ago now. Oh god. It won't be too long for I've been doing this for a decade. Theoretically 90 episodes, right? One would imagine 520 weeks is 10 years. 521.429 weeks in a decade. Okay, that's gonna be interesting to figure out. This is episode 430, by the way. I don't really advertise that anymore, because if people see a big number, they might not click the video. Algorithm. SEO. Yeah, for newcomers, I've been doing this for a long time, and it's all still on the channel if you want to check any of it out. Also, I just want to mention, you know how last week we did Rush Rally 3 for the background gameplay for the Weekly Waypoint? I've been playing a whole bunch of that this week. It's so good to listen to a podcast and play an old or retro style rally game. Also, final part of this week's commentary. I just want to mention, because I'm not going to do a great big video of this over on Kritigri Talk Stories, although maybe I should, because it's been a while since I did a video over there, whoops. But I randomly decided the other day to finally watch Interstellar. Now, I'm not going to give spoilers in case you haven't seen it, viewer, but it's a very good movie. I realize I've currently got access to like quite a lot of streaming services, so even though I'm not the biggest going out and watching movies guy, I should probably take advantage of what I've got while I've got it. And yeah, Interstellar's a really fun movie because it's a science fiction story which makes use of some of the most up-to-date science fiction facts and theories we have, and it uses it to tell a story that we've never really been able to tell before, and that's really fun. There is some stuff which is very theoretical in it still. But, you know, that's more towards the end of a movie, but that's fine, because it would have to be. But all the same, like, just the general stuff is good. There you go, that's my very, very well-reasoned review. Oh, maybe it's a good thing I didn't do a proper video on it. But yeah, someone who's been watching videos about theoretical physics and astrophysics and stuff just for fun, you know, not in a way that makes me super smart, but just in a way that I get it explained to me in layman's terms. Yeah, it was really fun to watch that movie. I wonder if I enjoyed it more than I otherwise would have, or maybe less than I otherwise would have, for knowing these things. A friend suggested that I continue the Bring Matt Damon Home journey from outer space by watching The Martian next, which I suppose I will probably do. I think Hail Mary is now streaming as well, so I should probably watch that as well. But I also want to watch 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is a fair bit older. If I'm honest, I kind of just want to watch Interstellar again. It was really good. I've been listening to the soundtrack, and it's crazy that Hans Zimmer went, a soundtrack for a space movie. I'll use the organ. And it works. Anyway, that's going to do it for this week's episode of A Weekly Waypoint. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I will catch you on whatever I make next.